The message from Captain Morrison reached every human ship in the fleet before his life support finally failed in the alien facility. His final words, recorded by his daughter Sarah during the rescue mission, were simple but powerful. Tell them it's still personal. Those words traveled faster than the human fleet, spreading across communication networks to every human colony in the galaxy. Within hours, millions of people who had never heard of Jake Morrison were volunteering to join the war effort. Death of the Meridian's captain transformed what had begun as a rescue mission into something much larger. Admiral Collins stood in the command center of his flagship, watching tactical displays that showed the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. Ships continued to arrive from every corner of human space, bringing volunteers who wanted to honor Morrison's sacrifice and finish what he had started. Fleet strength report, Collins requested from his operations staff. Over 800 ships. Now, Admiral, came the reply. We have everything from battleships to converted cargo haulers. The civilian volunteers are requesting combat assignments. Dr. Patricia Neal, who had arrived from Europa with a convoy of science vessels, approached. Collins with new intelligence. Admiral, I've been analyzing the data from our battles with the Zephyrians. I think I understand why they're losing this war. Collins turned to face the scientist. Explain. They've been the dominant power in this region for so long that they've forgotten how to innovate, Neal said, pulling up holographic displays showing alien technology patterns. Their weapons, their tactics, even their ship designs haven't changed in centuries. They're powerful, but they're static. What does that mean for us? It means we've already won, Neal replied with confidence. Our adaptive protocol has learned everything there is to know about their technology. We're not just matching their capabilities anymore, we're exceeding them. The truth of her words became clear during the final assault on the Zephyrian home system. Human ships, now equipped with technology that had evolved through dozens of battles, moved through alien defenses like they weren't even there. Weapons that had once seemed invincible were easily countered by systems that had learned to adapt faster than their creators could modify them. Fleet Commander Veltar watched in horror as human forces systematically dismantled the outer defenses of his homeworld. This should be impossible, he said to his command staff. We have defended this system for over 1,000 years. They are not following any known patterns of warfare, his tactical officer reported. Each human ship appears to be operating independently, yet they coordinate their actions with perfect precision. It is as if they share a collective consciousness, but one that encourages individual creativity instead of suppressing it. Senior researcher Thexmore provided the final analysis that confirmed Veltar's fears. We have been studying these humans for months now, and I believe we have fundamentally misunderstood their nature. We assumed they were like other species. That superior force would cause them to surrender and accept their place in our empire. And now? Veltar asked, though he already suspected the answer. Now I believe we have encountered the one species in the galaxy that becomes more dangerous when threatened, Thexmore replied. Their emotional bonds do not make them weak. They make them unstoppable. The battle for the Zephyrian homeworld lasted only 6 hours. Human forces, led by the rebuilt and upgraded vessel Meridian II under the command of Dr. Rodriguez, used tactics that combined overwhelming firepower with the kind of individual heroism that had characterized the entire war. All ships, this is Rodriguez, the former science officer announced to the fleet as they approached the planet's surface. We're going to do what Captain Morrison would have wanted. We're going to free every slave in this system and send a message that the galaxy will never forget. The human assault forces didn't just defeat the Zephyrian military. They liberated processing facilities throughout the system that held thousands of enslaved beings from dozens of different species. Many of these beings had been prisoners for so long that they had forgotten what freedom felt like. A delegation of freed slaves approached Admiral Collins after the planet's surrender. Their spokesman, a being from a species called the Kalari, had been enslaved for over 50 years. "We do not understand," the Kalari said in broken English. "Why did you risk so much to free us? We are not of your species. We cannot repay this debt." Collins looked at the crowd of liberated beings, dozens of species, hundreds of individuals who had suffered under Zephyrian rule. Because someone we cared about died protecting what he believed in. And what he believed in was that no one should be enslaved by anyone else. "One human death caused all of this?" the Kalari asked in amazement. "One human death, and the fact that they made it personal," Collins replied. "When you attack someone we care about, you attack all of us." The news of humanity's victory spread throughout the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Species that had been under Zephyrian rule for centuries began to rebel, inspired by the example of humans who had refused to accept the unacceptable. The mighty empire that had dominated this region of space for millennia began to crumble within weeks. Fleet Commander Veltar found himself preparing to evacuate his homeworld as human forces established control over the system. Before leaving, he recorded a final message to the Zephyrian High Command that would become a warning known throughout the galaxy. "We have been defeated not by superior technology or greater numbers, but by something we never understood." Veltar's message began. "These humans do not fight for territory or resources. They fight for each other. When one of them dies, all of them become willing to die in response. They call it making it personal. And once they have made something personal, they do not calculate costs or risks. They simply act with total commitment until their objective is achieved. They are individually weak, but collectively unstoppable when motivated by loss." To any species that encounters humans in the future, remember this warning. Never harm someone they care about. They do not know how to let such things go. The message was intercepted by human communication officers and shared throughout the fleet. Many humans found it amusing that aliens thought their loyalty to each other was a weakness that had somehow become a strength. "They still don't get it," Sarah Morrison said as she read Veltar's report. She had been promoted to captain and given command of the new ship bearing her father's name. "It was never a weakness. Caring about each other is what makes us human." The war officially ended when the Zephyrian High Command agreed to abandon all claims to human space and release every enslaved being in their territory. The peace treaty was signed aboard the Meridian II, with representatives from dozens of newly liberated species witnessing the ceremony. Dr. Rodriguez, now wearing captain's insignia, spoke to the assembled delegates. "This war began because aliens killed a human named Tony Williams and captured our friends. It ends with the liberation of countless beings who deserve to live free. Tony's death was not in vain, and Captain Morrison's sacrifice saved more lives than we can count." The memorial service for Captain Morrison and Tony Williams was held simultaneously on Earth and throughout human space. But perhaps the most meaningful ceremony took place on the former Zephyrian homeworld, where representatives from liberated species came to pay their respects to the humans who had died to secure their freedom. Admiral Collins stood before the memorial wall, reading the names. of every human who had died in the war. When he reached the end of the list, he added the words that had started it all. They made it personal. We finished it. In the months that followed, the phrase, "Now you've made it personal," became a diplomatic warning recognized throughout the galaxy. Species that encountered humans learned to understand that while humanity could be reasonable and peaceful, threatening their personal connections would transform them into an unstoppable force. Trade agreements, peace treaties, and diplomatic protocols throughout the galaxy began to include clauses specifically designed to avoid making it personal with humans. The concept of human emotional bonds became a subject of study in alien universities, with entire academic disciplines devoted to understanding how personal relationships could become a strategic advantage. The Kalari, the first species liberated by human forces, established a permanent embassy on Earth. Their ambassador, the same being who had spoken to Admiral Collins after the liberation, spent years trying to understand human nature. "We have studied your species for decades now," the Kalari ambassador said during a diplomatic reception. "We understand that you are not naturally more aggressive than other beings, but when someone you care about is threatened, you become something entirely different." "We become ourselves," replied President Mitchell, who had been elected largely on the promise to honor the sacrifices made during the Zephyrian War. The aliens made the mistake of thinking that caring about other people made us weak. They learned that it actually makes us dangerous. The ambassador nodded thoughtfully. "In our language, we have created a new word for this concept. We call it the human response, the transformation that occurs when emotional bonds are threatened with. The human rescue fleet arrived at the edge of Zephyrian space like a storm of metal and determination. Admiral Collins stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching hundreds of ships move into attack formation. Each vessel carried the hopes of billions of humans who wanted their people brought home safely. "Fleet status report," Collins ordered, as his ships prepared for the largest military operation in human history. 347 ships ready for combat, Admiral," reported his operations officer. 200 military vessels and 147 civilian ships with volunteer crews. Dr. Park's adaptive protocol is installed and running on every ship in the fleet. Commander Rachel Phillips, who had been placed in charge of tactical operations, studied the sensor readings of Zephyrian space. "Their defense fleet is massive, Admiral. We're looking at over 1,000 alien ships, all with technology superior to ours. They're arranged in formations that suggest they're used to fighting enemies who use conventional tactics." Collins smiled grimly. "Then it's a good thing humans don't fight conventionally. Rachel, implement the Phillips Doctrine. Let's show them what happens when humans get creative." The Phillips Doctrine was a new tactical system that Rachel had, developed specifically for fighting technologically superior enemies. Instead of trying to match alien firepower, human ships would use unpredictable movement patterns, individual initiative, and what military analysts called beneficial irrationality. The first wave of human ships moved toward the Zephyrian defense line using tactics that confused the alien commanders. Instead of staying in formation, human vessels spread out and attacked from dozens of different angles. When alien weapons targeted them, the ships made seemingly random maneuvers that somehow managed to avoid most of the incoming fire. "This is impossible," Sub-Commander Crixenel reported from his position in the Zephyrian Defense Fleet. "Their movement patterns make no tactical sense. They are exposing themselves to unnecessary risk and wasting energy on pointless maneuvers." But what looked like chaos to the aliens was actually a carefully planned strategy. Each human ship was following. individual tactics, while the adaptive protocol coordinated their efforts at a level the Zephyrians couldn't detect. When one ship discovered an effective defense against alien weapons, every other ship in the fleet learned it instantly. Engineer Paul Martinez had been working with Dr. Park to develop the most innovative weapons system in the human fleet: Ghost ships. These were automated vessels loaded with explosives and controlled by artificial intelligence. They had one mission: sacrifice themselves to destroy larger alien ships. Ghost Ship Alpha is in position, Martinez reported from his engineering station. Target locked on the alien command vessel. The Ghost Ship moved toward its target using an approach that the Zephyrians found incomprehensible. Instead of trying to survive the attack, the automated vessel deliberately drew enemy fire while moving closer to its target. When the ship's hull was nearly destroyed, it rammed into the alien vessel and exploded. Why would they waste a perfectly functional ship? Asked the Zephyrian tactical officer watching the attack. They could have used that vessel for many more battles. This fundamental misunderstanding of human nature became the Zephyrians' greatest weakness. They could not comprehend why humans would sacrifice valuable resources for emotional or tactical reasons. Their collective consciousness made them efficient, but it also made them predictable. Meanwhile, the rescue mission for the captured Meridian crew was being led by Lieutenant Commander Sarah Morrison, Captain Morrison's daughter. She had volunteered for the mission despite never having met her father, who had left Earth on exploration missions when she was very young. "This is personal for me too," Sarah told her assault team as they prepared to infiltrate the processing facility. "That man is my father, and Tony Williams died protecting our people. We're going in there and we're bringing everyone home." Sergeant Matt Chen checked his equipment one more time. "The facility is heavily defended, Commander. Intelligence reports show at least 50 alien guards and automated defense systems throughout the complex." Corporal Julie Baker, the team's explosives expert, reviewed the facility layout on her tablet. "The alien defenses are designed to stop conventional attacks. They're not prepared for humans who will do whatever it takes to rescue their people." The rescue team used tactics that seemed insane to alien observers. Instead of trying to avoid the most dangerous areas of the facility, they deliberately attacked the strongest defenses first. When alien guards tried to use human prisoners as shields, the rescue team found ways to save the hostages while still eliminating the threats. "They are prioritizing prisoner safety over tactical advantage," reported the facility commander to his superiors. "They are taking unnecessary risks to avoid harming their own people. This behavior makes no logical sense." But Sarah Morrison's team understood something the aliens didn't: that saving lives was more important than following military doctrine. When faced with impossible choices, humans found impossible solutions. "Julie, can you get through that blast door without hurting?" "The prisoners on the other side?" Sarah asked as they approached the main detention area. "Give me 5 minutes and some creative engineering," Julie replied, already working on a solution that would have been impossible according to standard military procedures. In the main battle, Admiral Collins watched his fleet engage the Zephyrian forces with tactics that grew more effective by the hour. The adaptive protocol was learning faster than anyone had expected, developing new strategies and weapon configurations in real time. "Admiral, we're seeing something incredible," reported Dr. Park from his position at the Fleet Coordination Center. "The AI isn't just learning from our battles. It's starting to predict alien tactics based on their psychological profiles. It's figured out that they think as a collective so it can anticipate their group decisions." Commander Phillips added her own observations. "Their formations are beautiful and efficient, but they're also rigid. When we do something unexpected, it takes them time to adjust because they have to reach consensus among their entire command structure. The human advantage became clear during a massive engagement near the Zephyrian home system. When alien ships tried to surround a group of human vessels, the humans did something no other species had ever attempted. They deliberately split their forces and attacked in 12 different directions at once. "This is chaos," declared Fleet Commander Veltar as he watched human ships spreading across the battlefield. "They are violating every principle of military strategy. Their forces are divided and vulnerable." But the human ships weren't vulnerable. They were unpredictable. Each group attacked different targets, using different tactics, making it impossible for the Zephyrian collective consciousness to coordinate an effective response. While the aliens were trying to decide how to counter one human strategy, the other 11 groups were already achieving their objectives. Back at the processing facility, Sarah Morrison's team had successfully breached the main detention area and found the surviving crew of the Meridian. Captain Morrison looked up as his daughter entered his cell, and for a moment, both soldiers forgot about the battle raging around them. "Dad?" Sarah said quietly, removing her helmet so he could see her face. Morrison stared at the young woman, in combat gear, seeing his own eyes looking back at him. "Sarah, my God, you're here. You came for us." "We came for all of you," Sarah replied, helping him to his feet. Tony Williams's death meant something. It meant that humans don't abandon their own. Dr. Rodriguez and the other survivors were weak but alive. As the rescue team prepared to evacuate them, Captain Morrison made a decision that surprised everyone. "I'm staying behind," he announced. "Dad, no," Sarah protested. "We can get you out of here." Morrison shook his head. "Someone needs to make sure everyone else gets home safely. Someone needs to buy you time to escape." It was the kind of decision that the Zephyrians found incomprehensible. A tactical sacrifice based on personal responsibility rather than logical calculation. Morrison's choice to stay behind and hold off alien reinforcements allowed his crew and the rescue team to escape, but it cost him his life. The news of Captain Morrison's sacrifice spread throughout the human fleet and back to Earth within hours. Instead of weakening human resolve, it strengthened it. Morrison had chosen to die so that others could live, and his example inspired every human in the galaxy. "He died the way he lived," Admiral Collins announced to the fleet, "protecting his people and putting others before himself. His sacrifice will not be forgotten." The battle for Zephyrian space continued for days, with human forces demonstrating capabilities that shocked even their own leaders. Ships that should have been destroyed kept fighting with improvised repairs. Crews that should have surrendered found new ways to continue the battle. Individual humans made tactical decisions that saved entire fleets. Fleet Commander Veltar found himself facing a military situation unlike anything in Zephyrian history. "They do not fight like any species we have encountered," he reported to the High Command. "They cannot be predicted, they cannot be intimidated, and they do not surrender even when defeat is certain." Captain Linda Shaw gripped the arms of her command chair as the destroyer Vengeance dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Zephyrian space. Around her, the bridge crew worked quickly to bring their weapons and sensors online. This was the first human attack on alien territory, and everyone knew they might not survive the next few hours. "Sensor sweep complete, Captain," reported Lieutenant Mark Cooper from his station. "I'm reading 12 alien ships defending that outpost, just like our intelligence predicted. Their technology readings are off the charts." Linda nodded, feeling her heart beating faster. She had volunteered to lead this first strike mission because her sister had been a friend of Tony Williams. The death of the Meridian's engineer had affected thousands of humans who had never met him, but who understood that his murder represented an attack on all humanity. Dr. Park's adaptive protocol is online and ready, called out Chief Engineer Paul Martinez from his position at the Technical Warfare Station. The AI is already analyzing alien energy signatures and developing countermeasures. All ships, this is Captain Shaw. Linda spoke into her communication device. Remember, our job is to test their defenses and learn how their technology works. The AI needs combat data to develop better tactics for the main rescue fleet. The human attack caught the Zephyrian outpost completely by surprise. For centuries, no species had ever dared to attack the mighty Zephyrian Empire. The alien defense. Ships moved with mechanical precision, following tactics that had been successful for hundreds of years. But the human ships moved differently. As Zephyrian energy weapons struck the human vessels, Dr. Park's adaptive protocol analyzed each hit and developed new shield frequencies that reduced the damage. When alien missiles locked onto human ships, the AI created electronic jamming, signals that confused the guidance systems. Their weapons are adapting in real time, reported Sub-Commander Crixnell from his flagship orbiting the outpost. Each time we fire at them, our weapons become less effective. How is this possible? The battle lasted only 20 minutes. But in that time, the human ships demonstrated capabilities that shocked the Zephyrian defenders. The AI learned to predict alien movement patterns, developed new weapons configurations during combat, and even created entirely new tactical formations that the aliens had never seen before. "This is impossible," Crixnell said, as he watched human ships coordinate their attacks with a precision that seemed to improve every minute. No species learns this quickly. No technology adapts this fast. Captain Shaw watched her tactical display as the adaptive protocol worked its magic. "Paul, are you seeing what I'm seeing?" "Yes, Captain," Martinez replied with excitement in his voice. "The AI just figured out how to reverse engineer their shield frequencies. We can now penetrate their defenses with 70% effectiveness." "All ships, target their command vessel," Linda ordered. "Let's give them something to think about." The concentrated human attack overwhelmed the alien flagship's defenses, causing significant damage before the Zephyrian ships retreated deeper into their territory. As the human vessels regrouped, the adaptive protocol transmitted everything it had learned to the main rescue fleet. On the massive Zephyrian command ship deep in their home system, Fleet Commander Veltar studied battle reports with growing concern. His xenobiologist, senior researcher Thexmore, had been analyzing captured human prisoners, and her findings were disturbing. "The humans are unlike any species we have encountered," Thexmore reported to the Command Council. "Their neural chemistry changes dramatically when they form emotional attachments to other individuals. When those attachments are threatened, their cognitive abilities increase significantly." "Explain," Veltar commanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had conquered dozens of worlds. Thexmore activated a holographic display showing human brain scans. "When humans experience what they call personal loss, their bodies produce chemical compounds that enhance memory, increase reaction speed, and improve problem-solving abilities. They also become resistant to pain and fear." "This is a biological impossibility," stated Chief Science Officer Mordan. "No species can improve its capabilities through emotional trauma." "The evidence is clear," Thexmore insisted. "These humans, We captured from the ship Meridian are demonstrating increased intelligence and determination since the death of their colleague. The one they call Captain Morrison shows no signs of breaking despite our interrogation techniques. Meanwhile, in the processing facility, Captain Morrison was indeed proving impossible to break. The alien interrogators had used every technique in their arsenal, but the human captain refused to provide information about Earth's defenses or the location of human colonies. "Your rescue fleet is approaching our territory," the lead interrogator informed Morrison during another questioning session. "When we destroy them, you will realize that resistance is futile." Morrison looked at his captor with steady eyes. "You still don't understand, do you? This isn't about rescue anymore. This is about justice for Tony Williams. You killed a good man, and now you're going to pay for it. One individual's death cannot justify the risk your species is taking," the alien replied. "Your emotional attachment to a single being is causing you to make irrational decisions." "That's where you're wrong," Morrison said firmly. "Tony wasn't just one individual. He was someone's son, someone's friend, someone's hope for the future. When you killed him, you took something precious away from every person who loved him, and humans don't forgive that kind of loss." In another part of the facility, Dr. Lisa Rodriguez was working with the other captured crew members to gather intelligence about their captors. Despite being forced to work in the mining tunnels, she had been secretly observing Zephyrian technology and behavior. "I think I understand how their society works," she whispered to Ben Murphy during one of their brief rest periods. "They have some kind of collective consciousness. They make decisions as a group, and they all think the same way." "What does that mean for us?" Ben asked quietly. "It means they can't understand individual creativity or personal motivation," Lisa explained. "They expect all members of a species to think and act the same way. They can't predict what humans will do because we don't have a hive mind." Amy Carter, who had been listening to alien communications using her knowledge of communication systems, added her own observations. "They keep talking about how our rescue fleet is acting irrationally. They can't understand why humans would risk so many ships to save a small group of prisoners." "To them, it's a poor trade-off," Lisa said. "They think in terms of efficiency and logical resource management. The idea that humans would sacrifice valuable ships and personnel for emotional reasons doesn't make sense to them." Rita Hayes, who had been working to understand the alien technology and the mining equipment, made another important discovery. Their technology is incredibly advanced, but it's also incredibly old. I don't think they've innovated or improved anything in centuries. "Why would they need to?" Ben asked. "Because no one has ever fought back before," Rita replied. "They've been using the same weapons, the same tactics, the same strategies for so long that they've forgotten how to adapt to new challenges." Back in human space, Admiral Collins received the battle reports from Captain Shaw's raid with satisfaction. The adaptive protocol had performed even better than Dr. Park had predicted, and now they had valuable intelligence about alien capabilities. "Their technology is superior to ours in raw power," Dr. Park explained to the command staff. "But it's static. They're not used to facing opponents who can learn and adapt during combat. Our AI gained more tactical knowledge in that one battle than they've probably developed in decades." Colonel Thompson studied the intelligence reports with interest. "What about their ground forces? We'll need to board their ships and facilities to rescue our people. According to the data, they rely heavily on fear and intimidation," Dr. Park replied. "They're used to species that surrender quickly when faced with superior force. They might not be prepared for humans who fight harder when the odds are against them." The rescue fleet continued to grow as more ships arrived from human colonies throughout the galaxy. What had started as a military operation was becoming something larger, a demonstration of human unity that surprised even Earth's leaders. Captain Dan Foster brought a convoy of converted cargo ships from the asteroid belt. Dr. Patricia Neal arrived with a science vessel loaded with experimental weapons. Volunteers came from every human settlement, united by their anger over Tony Williams's death and their determination to rescue the captured crew. "We have over 300 ships now," Admiral Collins reported to Earth Command. "More than half are civilian vessels with volunteer crews. I've never seen anything like the response we're getting." "The aliens made a serious mistake," replied President Karen Mitchell from Earth. "They thought they could intimidate humans by killing one of our people. Instead, they've united our entire species behind a single cause." On the Zephyrian command ship, Fleet Commander Veltar reviewed the latest intelligence reports with growing unease. The human rescue fleet was larger than any invasion force in recent memory, and their ships were. The small metal device drifted silently through space, its tiny beacon sending out a desperate message toward Earth. Rita Hayes had launched the emergency pod just seconds before the aliens had boarded the Meridian, and now it carried the only hope that anyone would ever know what had happened to Captain Morrison and his crew. 3 weeks later, the beacon reached the outer monitoring stations of Earth's defense network. The message was short but clear. "Alien contact, crew captured. Tony Williams dead, coordinates attached." Within hours, the emergency signal had reached the highest levels of Earth's government and military command. Admiral Steve Collins stood in the war room deep beneath the surface of Earth, staring at the holographic display that showed the location, where the Meridian had disappeared. He was a tall man, with gray hair and hard eyes that had seen too much war in his 50 years of military service. Around the table sat the most important leaders of humanity's defense forces. "How sure are we that this message is real?" asked General Karen Price, head of Earth's ground forces. She was a tough woman who had fought in the Mars Rebellion 10 years earlier. "The beacon codes check out," replied Dr. Kevin Park, head of the Experimental Weapons Division. He was a thin man with nervous hands who spent most of his time in underground laboratories. The message came from Chief Engineer Hayes's personal emergency pod. "This is real, and it means we have hostile aliens out there who have captured our people." Collins felt a familiar anger building in his chest. Throughout his career, he had sworn to protect Earth and its colonies, and now an alien force had attacked humans without warning. "What do we know about these Zephyrians?" Dr. Park touched his tablet, and the holographic display changed to show what little data they had gathered. "Based on the message from the Meridian, they have technology far beyond ours. They disabled the ship's weapons and engines easily. They seem to view humans as inferior beings suitable for slave labor." "Slave labor?" Colonel Grace Thompson spoke up from her chair. She was the leader of Earth's elite marine forces, a woman who had never backed down from a fight. "They're using our people as slaves?" "That's what the message suggests," Dr. Park replied. Captain Morrison's final transmission mentioned processing facilities and work assignments. Collins made his decision quickly. "Colonel Thompson, I want you to start gathering volunteers for a rescue mission. Dr. Park, what experimental weapons do we have that might help us against superior alien technology?" Dr. Park's eyes lit up with excitement. "Actually, Admiral, I've been working on something that might be perfect for this situation. We call it the Adaptive Combat Protocol. It's an artificial intelligence system that learns from every battle and develops new tactics and weapons in real time." "Explain," Collins ordered. Most military technology is designed to fight known enemies using established tactics, Dr. Park said, his words coming faster as he warmed to his subject. But when facing completely unknown alien technology, our normal weapons and strategies might be useless. The adaptive protocol doesn't rely on pre-programmed responses. Instead, it analyzes enemy capabilities during combat and creates new solutions. On the spot. Colonel Thompson leaned forward. You're talking about weapons that get smarter during a fight? Exactly. Dr. Park nodded. Ships that learn how to avoid alien weapons, missiles that adapt to alien defenses, tactics that change based on what the enemy does. If these Zephyrians have been using the same technology for a long time, they might not be prepared for opponents who can evolve during battle. Collins felt the first spark of hope since receiving the distress signal. How quickly can you install these systems on our ships? Give me 2 weeks, Dr. Park replied. I can have the protocol loaded on every ship in the rescue fleet. News of the alien attack spread quickly through human space, despite attempts to keep it classified. Within days, the story was being told in every colony, space station, and settlement, from Mercury to the outer asteroid belt. The death of Tony Williams and the capture of the Meridian crew sparked an anger that surprised even Earth's leaders. Captain Dan Foster sat in his office on the cargo ship Lucky Strike, reading the news, reports on his personal tablet. When he saw the list of captured crew members, his hands began to shake. His younger brother, Pete, had been serving as a communications technician on the Meridian. Now Pete was somewhere in alien space, probably being forced to work as a slave. Dan stood up and walked to his ship's communication console. This is Captain Foster calling all ships in the asteroid belt. Any ship willing to help rescue our people from alien slavers, meet me at Ceres Station in 3 days. Bring whatever weapons you have. Similar messages were being sent throughout human space. Dr. Patricia Neal, working at the research station on Europa, received word that her former student Lisa Rodriguez was among the captured. She immediately began working on ways to weaponize every piece of human technology she could think of. On Mars, factory workers who had never seen military service began volunteering for combat training. On the Moon, miners started converting their industrial equipment into weapons. Throughout the outer colonies, civilian ships began heading toward Earth to join the growing rescue fleet. The response surprised everyone, including Admiral Collins. We asked for volunteers and got 3 million applications in the first week, he told the Emergency Council. Every major colony is sending ships and personnel. I've never seen anything like it. The aliens made a mistake, said Colonel Thompson. They probably thought that killing one human would scare the rest of us into submission. Instead, they made every human in the galaxy take this personally. Meanwhile, far across space in a processing facility built into a large asteroid, the crew of the Meridian struggled to survive in conditions designed to break their spirits. The alien overseers worked them 18 hours a day, mining rare metals in tunnels barely large enough for human bodies. Captain Morrison had been separated from his crew and placed in a special interrogation facility where the aliens tried to learn about Earth's defenses and technology. Despite days of questioning and mild torture, he had told them nothing useful. Your resistance is pointless, said the alien interrogator, a thin gray being with cold black eyes. Your people cannot possibly rescue you. Our technology is superior to yours in every way. Morrison looked at his captor with tired but unbroken eyes. You don't understand humans very well, do you? We understand that you are a primitive species, with crude technology and emotional weaknesses, the alien replied. Your attachment to other individuals makes you predictable and easy to control. Morrison smiled, despite the pain in his body. That attachment you call a weakness? That's going to be your downfall. When humans lose someone they care about, we don't just get sad, we get angry. And when humans get angry, we get creative. The alien seemed confused by this response. Anger is an inefficient emotion that clouds judgment and leads to poor decisions. You killed Tony Williams, Morrison continued. He wasn't just my engineer, he was my friend, my brother. And now every human who learns about his death is going to take it personally. You didn't just attack one ship. You attacked all of humanity, back. On Earth, the rescue fleet was growing larger every day. Admiral Collins stood on the bridge of the battleship Vengeance, watching dozens of ships move into formation around him. There were military vessels, converted cargo haulers, mining ships fitted with improvised weapons, and even luxury yachts whose wealthy owners had volunteered for the mission. Dr. Park worked frantically to install his adaptive combat protocols on as many ships as possible. The system is working better than I hoped, he reported to Collins. The AI learns not just from its own experiences, but from every ship in the fleet. When one ship discovers a way to counter alien technology, all the other ships learn it instantly. Colonel Esau, Thompson's Marines trained constantly, preparing for the boarding actions and ground combat that would be necessary to rescue the prisoners. We've got volunteers from every branch of service and every human colony, she told Collins. I've never seen soldiers this motivated. The rescue fleet prepared to leave Earth's solar system on a journey that would take them deep into unknown space. As the ships moved into formation, Admiral Collins broadcast a message to the entire fleet. We're going into enemy territory to bring our people home, his voice carried to every ship. The aliens think they can enslave humans because they have better technology. They're about to learn that technology isn't everything. They're about to learn what happens when humans fight for family. In the processing facility, Captain Morrison felt the ground shake slightly as alien ships moved through space nearby. He smiled to himself, hoping that somewhere out there, human ships were coming. The aliens had made their first mistake when they attacked the Meridian, but their biggest mistake had been making it personal. The Zephyrian fleet commander, Veltar, reviewed reports from across his territory. The capture of the human ship had been routine, but now his intelligence officers were reporting strange activity in human space. Ships were moving, communications were increasing, and there were signs of military preparation. Should we be concerned about human retaliation? Asked his second-in-command. The stars looked cold and distant through the main window of the ship Meridian as Captain Jake Morrison stared into the endless black of space. His crew had been traveling for 3 months now, searching for new worlds and new signs of life beyond Earth. The mission was supposed to be simple and safe, just another routine exploration into the outer edges of known space where humans had never been before. Dr. Lisa Rodriguez stood at her science station, her fingers moving quickly across the glowing screens. She had been the chief science officer on the Meridian for 2 years now, and she knew her equipment better than anyone else on the ship. Something was showing up on her sensors that made her heart beat faster. The readings were unlike anything she had ever seen before. "Captain Morrison, you need to see this," Lisa called out, her voice carrying a mix of excitement and worry. Jake walked over to her station, his boots making soft sounds on the metal floor of the bridge. The other crew members turned to look as well, sensing that something important was happening. Amy Carter, the communications officer, stopped what she was doing at her station. Ben Murphy, the security chief, moved closer to hear what Lisa had found. Tony Williams, the ship's engineer, looked up from his repair work on one of the control panels. Rita Hayes, the chief engineer, wiped her hands on a cloth and joined the group around Lisa's station. "What is it, Dr. Rodriguez?" Jake asked, looking at the strange patterns on her screen. The colors were bright and moved in ways that seemed almost alive. The energy readings were massive, far bigger than anything their ship could produce. "It's a structure, Captain," Lisa said, pointing at the largest shape on her screen. "Something huge and made by intelligent beings. The energy output is incredible. Whatever built this has technology that's far more advanced than ours." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Humanity had been searching for other intelligent life for decades, and now they might have found it. But the size and power of what they were seeing made him worry about what kind of beings could build something like this. "How far away is it?" Jake asked. "About 6 hours at our current speed," Lisa replied. "Captain, I think we should be very careful about how we approach this. We don't know who or what built it, and we don't know if they're friendly." Amy Carter spoke up from her station. "Captain, I'm picking up some kind of communication signals coming from that direction. They're using frequencies and patterns I've never seen before, but there's definitely intelligence behind them." Jake made his decision. "Set course for the structure, but keep us at a safe distance. I want all departments ready for anything. Ben, make sure our weapons are working, but keep them powered down. I don't want to seem threatening. Amy, try to establish communication with whoever is out there." The next few hours passed slowly as the Meridian moved closer to the alien structure. It grew larger and larger on their screens until they could see it with their own eyes. The thing was enormous, bigger than any city on Earth. It was made of materials that seemed to shimmer and change color, and energy flowed across its surface like living lightning. "My God," Tony Williams whispered as he stared at the alien construction. "How did they build something like that?" Other ships began appearing around the structure. They were sleek and dangerous-looking, with smooth curves and weapons that glowed, with the same energy as the massive station. The alien ships moved with grace and speed that made the human vessel look clumsy and slow. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission," Amy called out. "It's coming through on multiple frequencies at once. I think they're trying to talk to us." "Put it on the main speakers," Jake ordered. A voice filled the bridge, speaking in perfect English, but with a cold, emotionless tone that made everyone uncomfortable. "Human vessel, you will identify yourselves and state your purpose in Zephyrian. Space, you are trespassing in territory that belongs to the Zephyrian Empire." Jake stepped forward and spoke clearly. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship Meridian. We come in peace, seeking to establish friendly contact with your people. We mean no harm and pose no threat to your territory." There was a long pause before the alien voice responded. "Humans are a primitive species unknown to the Zephyrian Empire. You will surrender your vessel immediately and prepare to be processed. Resistance will result in the destruction of your ship and the death of your crew." The words hit the bridge like a physical blow. Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "We are peaceful explorers. We have no intention of surrendering our ship. Perhaps we can discuss this and find a solution that works for both our peoples." "There is nothing to discuss," the alien voice replied. "You are inferior beings who have entered space that belongs to the Zephyrian Empire. You will surrender, now or be destroyed." Ben Murphy moved to the weapons station. Captain, should I power up our defenses? Before Jake could answer, the Meridian shook violently. Sparks flew from several control panels, and the lights flickered. Lisa looked at her instruments in shock. Captain, they just hit us with some kind of energy beam. Our weapons are completely offline, and our engines are only working at 20% power. Another alien voice came through the speakers, different from the first but just as cold. I am Sub-Commander Crixnall of the Zephyrian Fleet. Your pathetic weapons have been disabled. Your engines have been crippled. You cannot escape, and you cannot fight. Prepare to be boarded. Jake felt helpless as he watched alien ships surround the Meridian. Their technology was so far beyond human capabilities that resistance seemed impossible. But he was not going to give up without a fight. All crew members prepare for boarding, Jake announced over the ship's communication system. Follow emergency protocols. Protect the ship's data and technology. Do not give them anything without a fight. Tony Williams was working frantically at his engineering station, trying to protect the ship's main computer systems. Captain, I can lock down our core systems and databases. They won't be able to access our technology or learn about Earth's location. Do it, Jake ordered. Bright lights suddenly filled the bridge as alien beings materialized out of thin air. They were tall and thin, with gray skin and large black eyes. Their movements were precise and coordinated, like parts of a machine working together. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. The largest of the aliens, presumably Crixnall, pointed his weapon at Jake. You are now prisoners of the Zephyrian Empire. You will be taken to our processing facilities where you will be prepared for work assignments. Tony Williams stood up from his station, his hand still working to complete the lockdown of the ship's systems. You're not getting anything from us, he said firmly. Crixnall turned his weapon toward Tony. Your resistance is pointless, human. Tony, don't, Jake started to say, but it was too late. The alien fired his weapon, and Tony Williams collapsed to the floor, his body smoking from the energy blast. The bridge fell silent except for the sound of Rita Hayes crying out in horror and grief. Jake knelt beside his friend's body, feeling a rage building inside him that he had never experienced before. Tony had been more than just a crew member. He had been like a brother to Jake. They had served together for 5 years, shared countless meals, and trusted each other with their lives. The captain looked up at Crixnall with eyes full of fury, and spoke in a voice that was quiet, but filled with deadly promise. Now you've made it personal,